Hello everyone, my name is Reewyn and welcome back to day 6 of my Dead by Daylight Bootcamp. Today, we're going over the best perks to maximize your potential as a beginner killer. When you're a new killer, one of the hardest things to do is to find the survivors. You can find scratch marks on the ground of course, but survivors won't always be so careless, and scratch marks fade. It's then harder to hit them and hook them as they might wriggle out. Therefore, we're going to build on that as you start to play as killer. One thing to note from the previous episode, which I recommend you watch before this, is that all perks have 3 levels, increasing in strength and durability. Remember, you also have shared perks too, which again I go into more detail on day 5. We're going to start with general perks so you can get these regardless of prestige. The first is Sloppy Butcher. This perk activates when you hit a survivor with a basic attack, as in not a specialized attack. When you hit a survivor, it causes the hemorrhage and mangled status effects on survivors for 70/80/90 seconds, respective of tier. Hemorrhage causes more blood to spill out from the survivor, making them easier to track. They will also lose any healing process by 7% for all the time they are partially healed, making it harder for survivors to heal if they're not fast enough. Mangled means the survivor takes 25% longer to heal, again making it much harder for survivors to recover and easier for you to down them as they're less likely to heal any extra. It also increases the effect of hemorrhage by 25%, meaning the survivor has a lot more difficulty healing. The next perk is Iron Grasp. This one decreases wiggle progress for survivors when you're carrying them by 75%, which means you have more time to get to the hook. It also increases the maximum wiggle duration by 4/8/12%, again helping you keep them in your grip. Next is Bitter Murmur. This perk activates when a generator is completed, which triggers your ability to see the aura of survivors within 16 meters for 5 seconds, meaning you can get a good idea of where they are running to/hiding. Once the final generator is completed, you can see the aura of all survivors for 5/7/10 seconds, so you'll get a head start before they get to the gates and give you a good chance to catch them before they escape. Next is Spies from the Shadows. This perk is really easy to understand. It allows you to get a noise notification when a survivor has disturbed a crow, which sit around the map and are disturbed by a survivor running nearby, for example, within 20/28/36 meters. There is a 5-second cooldown for this perk, which means you'll be able to get a rough idea where survivors are. Whispers is the final general perk. This perk is, again, fairly easy to understand. The entity will whisper in your ear whenever at least one survivor is within 38/40/32 meters of your location. This means it is now harder for survivors to hide from you and also trains you to listen to audio cues. Now, these perks should be enough to get you started comfortably and get a good start as a killer. There are a few more perks that belong to beginner killers that will also give you a good boost as you start to prestige them. The first 2 are Trapper perks. First is Agitation. This perk activates when you are carrying a survivor. It not only increases your movement speed by 6/12/18%, but it also increases your terror radius by 12 meters. This means you can get your survivor to the hook quickly and also avoid flashlight attacks as you can spin and move away faster. The second is Brutal Strength. This increases your speed of breaking walls and drop pallets as well as damaging generators by 10/15/20%. This means that you can save precious time when it comes to pursuing your prey. The next killer with a handy perk is Hillbilly. He has a very handy perk called Tinkerer. This perk is activated whenever a generator receives 70% progress. First, it triggers a loud noise notification, which means you'll know exactly where the survivor is. Secondly, it gives you the undetectable status for 12/14/16 seconds, which means your terror radius is non-existent and you can sneak up easily on survivors now you know where they are. Next, we have Nurse's tricky to pronounce Thanatophobia, which, fun fact, means fear of death. First, each injured, dying, or hooked survivor afflicts all survivors with an action speed penalty of a stackable 1/1.5/2% to repairing, sabotaging, and cleaning to a maximum of 4/6/8%. The penalty is at a whopping 12% when all are in one of those states. This means that even if you don't have anyone hooked, you're still going to get a bonus. This is a good perk to be running with Sloppy Butcher as it keeps the survivors injured for longer. Finally, we have one more perk which is a good one to run as a killer. Predator activates when the survivor loses you in a chase. You'll be able to see the survivor's aura for 4 seconds. Predator has a cooldown of 60/50/40 seconds depending on your perk tier. Now, when it comes to running these perks, it's a good idea to have at least some information perks, i.e. ones that tell you where the survivor is a good start. Just remember, listen and watch. When it comes to being a killer, you will have a special ability exclusive to the killer. I'll explain these. When it comes to items, however, they're fairly easy to follow. For example, the axe-throwing huntress has items that increase the number of axes she carries, her attack speed, all that kind of thing. We will, however, go through all the different abilities the beginner killers have and a few tips each. First, we'll go through Trapper. He's fairly easy to play. All you have to do is place your traps around the map. Be careful though, you can step in them yourself, and while it is funny for survivors, it's not so much for you. You will start with 2 base traps, which can be increased with items, and 6 more will randomly spawn in the map, which you can move. You can only hold 2 traps at once. When a survivor steps in them, they'll have to struggle out. It will give you a loud noise notification. A survivor is less likely to escape the first 2 times they try and escape, and more likely for 3 or more times. Beware, if a teammate takes the risk to free them, they'll get their teammate out. If you hit the survivor freeing their friend, he'll insta-down them. Try and put traps down at pallets and windows, as survivors won't see this, and you will often be trapped in a chase. If you can get a survivor in the basement, the hook below the map, and trap the entrance, then you've got a strong play. Good add-ons for Trapper are ones that increase the maximum amount of traps that you can carry. Next is Huntress. She's not too tricky to play and one of my personal favourites. She throws axes. To do this, you wind up your attack and then throw it. You start with 7 hatchets. These can be refilled by opening a locker. When you're nearby, they'll be highlighted. First tip, make sure not to wind up the attack too early. It decreases your speed, so if they're running away, they will be long gone. Another good idea is not break all the pallets. You can threaten a survivor waiting to jump over, and you can hit a survivor as they vault, giving you a short but useful attack window. Don't waste your axes. You don't want to run out at a key moment. You're slower as the Huntress, so they're crucial in the chase. A good add-on is extra hatches, so you're not caught off guard. Our next killer is Hillbilly. This guy has a chainsaw, and when you activate your skill, you run fast with it. If you hit a survivor with a chainsaw, they are instantly downed, regardless of their previous health state. Unless they've just been unhooked and have endurance, which puts them into bleeding state until they heal themselves or pass out. Beware. If you run into something, your chainsaw chase will end. A few tips: don't use the chainsaw when looping, you will just get thrown off. If someone's looping excessively, just give up. Another tip: a good idea is to run at a survivor on a gen. A good Hillbilly add-ons are ones that reduce the weight of your chainsaw and ones that reduce cooldown speed. The penultimate one is Wraith. Wraith has the ability to become visible and invisible. You have an increased speed boost when invisible too, and you have no terror radius. You ring your bell as you appear and disappear. Some tips: body block, basically block with your body, windows and pallets as you uncloak, become visible again to surprise the survivor and get a hit in. Try and uncloak in places where you can get a surprise hit. Good add-ons for Wraith are ones that reduce or remove the sound of your bell ringing upon cloaking and uncloaking. Finally, we have Nurse, who I would not recommend as a new killer as she's powerful, but she's stupidly hard to play. I speak from experience. Nurse has the ability to teleport. She can teleport twice if fully charged, or only once if not. However, once she does so, she'll be fatigued for a moment. One good tip is, if you lose line of sight, teleport to where you lost it. Odds are you'll find the survivor again. Another tip: hit as soon as you teleport if you can. It's a quick and guaranteed hit. Third, watch how the survivor plays. Do they double back a lot? Do they wiggle? Are they nice, precious? Match your attacks to this. Good add-ons for her, especially as a newbie, are ones that reduce fatigue or show you where your jump will go. Finally, we go to offerings, and my advice: again, just go for blood points. Survivor gives you a 100% boost, as there's anniversary offerings if you claim them, usually around June. Otherwise, you can boost certain categories. The first is Brutality, which is increased by hurting survivors and destroying things. Next is Deviousness, where you use your power effectively. Next is Hunter. This is increased by finding, chasing, and catching survivors. And finally, you have Sacrifice, where you need to hook, kill, and sacrifice survivors. Whichever of these you do best, I recommend adding a blood point bonus to that category. And that's all for today. Tomorrow is the final day of the first week, and when you should be able to play Dead by Daylight at a proficient level. We'll be covering teamwork and how to communicate with your fellow survivors. Thank you, and see you for day 7.